Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of your average esports podcast. My name is Skim. I'm once again joined by Steven and, well, Pow didn't show up. He's too busy for us. He's too famous now. He's like ManilaMasters, all the
Yeah.
hype. I have a feeling that he's still hungover and he's just like using all these excuses. Oh, I'm stuck in traffic. Oh, I'm pretty sure he's still hungover.
Probably. It was a good weekend.
It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. It was a good event as well, which we'll talk about later probably. But yeah, it was a cool event. So it's been a while since we've done these extensively. So I guess we'll just get back into the rhythm of it, and we'll start with some general esports kind of news. And the first one I have, without, all right, that is it. No. All right, the first one I have is actually one that you and I have known quite a bit about for a while now.
Yeah.
ESForce have launched cybersports.com, or I don't think, no wait, it's not officially launched yet. They're still like pushing their launch, I think, but they're about to launch cybersports.com, which is basically the English counterpart to Cybersports IU, which is like the biggest esports coverage website in the CIS region, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about cybersports.com, knowing, Richard Lewis obviously reported about, how do you feel about the website, knowing about all the ties that ESForce has, obviously, with the teams, with organizations?
I mean, it was part of the missing puzzle. Like, they had the teams, they had the tournaments, they had the gambling sites. What they really needed was more coverage. And they had CIS coverage, but they wanted to go global. So I guess this was the natural progression of what they wanted to do.
That's pretty much what it feels like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a monopoly, but unlike the other monopolies, this ES Force has always been pretty blatant. Like, there's no investigation. Like, you literally just go ask them, "Do you own all these teams?" Yes, we do.
That's true. At least they're very open about it, yeah. I'm not quite sure. Actually, when I read the article from Richard Lewis, it was like a week ago, pretty much when he published it. But obviously, you and I mean, I guess I hope you don't mind me revealing this, but we've been approached. Both of us have been approached by them, and to work with them in some capacity, one or the other, and we've both declined, at least for now. I'm not. Obviously, you can never really truly say never, but at least for me, one of the things that really irked me about the whole thing is, reporting about a team that you technically own or that your company owns. That just changes the whole game, because if you can't really have an opinion on a team that you're technically not allowed to talk about in a bad way, right? I mean, obviously you're allowed to criticize them, but there are a lot. I can think of a lot of edge cases where suddenly it's like, maybe you shouldn't write this. Maybe it's like,
Yeah. All right. So I'll give you an example. So for a while, I guess I think it was a few years ago, not around 2012, I think, to like 2014-ish. I was writing voluntarily for Team Liquid, and Team Liquid actually had zero impact upon what I was writing. Like, at times, I'm not even sure they even knew I was writing for them. That's what it felt like at times. Like, oh my God, you write for us? What is this? Right? But basically, like, they had zero impact upon like any kind of editorial content. Basically, it was just like wax angels, like, oh, go do this, or please do this, please God, do this, something like that, right? And then what would happen was, if I wrote something about like a Team Liquid player, it was always assumed to be a form of propaganda, when in actuality, I actually thought like most of the Team Liquid players were bad. Like, because the reason how it's propaganda is because I kept talking about how Tasia was kicking the shit out of everybody. He was kicking the shit out of everybody. So that's why I kept talking about it. I was like, this guy's fucking crazy. He's literally kicking the shit out of everybody with no practice. And then everybody's like, oh man, this Liquid bias. What is this bullshit?
Right.
But yeah, that's basically like, even if there wasn't any kind of like conflict, like everybody will assume there's a conflict. So that's kind of why there's always going to be an iffy part about the entire thing whenever they write about like VP or SK or whatever ESForce owns at the time.
And you see it at, most recently, which is also mentioned by Richard Lewis in this article, Epicenter had a popularity vote for the last spot instead of having an actual qualifier for it, which they announced very late, only after all the qualifiers took place. And then they had this rule, basically all the teams that just didn't make that made the finals of every qualifier gets pitted against one another in this popularity vote, which is bullshit because they had Na'Vi in there versus a team that didn't have any social media presence, aka Faceless, a team that doesn't have a Western presence, aka LGD, and then NP, which I guess is sort of fair game, but if you compare NP versus 400,000 Twitter followers from Na'Vi, that's just bullshit.
Yeah, it's not gonna work because
exactly.
even if Na'Vi didn't have a Twitter following or whatever, Na'Vi would still would have won that because Na'Vi is, for all intents and purposes, like the original. I guess you'd call them the original Western team,
right?
And like that still resonates to this day. Like people who don't watch Dota still like follow. Like if they hear like Na'Vi is playing and like TI, they'll show up and watch, even if like it's completely different players. There's like a following there that can't be matched.
Right. And the thing is, in my opinion anyway, the thing is the fact that Epicenter, or the fact that ESForce owns both Epicenter and Na'Vi, changes the discussion entirely. It's always been, or in the past week, it's always been, oh yeah, obviously Navi's gonna win it. You know, why didn't Epicenter just immediately announce Na'Vi as the winners? And like, oh sure, I mean, you're owned by the same company, it's bound to happen. But for all we know, Epicenter had planned this from the beginning. Mind you, I do still think it's a stupid decision to do a popularity vote just after the qualifiers all over. If they had announced it properly beforehand, maybe not as much backlash. But still, I do think that it just changes, like you said, it just changes the whole discussion. It just changes how the way people perceive the content and people perceive decisions, right? Decisions made by you or by colleagues or whatever. So that is definitely.
I mean, I guess. There isn't it's not like there's no precedence. They probably thought to themselves, man, we have a spot left. What would ESL Pro League do at this moment? They would hold a popularity contest, but we don't have. But VP's already in. Let's get Na'Vi in instead. Like, maybe that's what they were thinking. ESL Pro League will do it. We will too. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Na'Vi. I guess that could have made the docket as well, but yeah, Na'Vi is with Epicenter now. We'll plan on attending Epicenter now. Actually, we'll talk about Epicenter later, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But that is pretty much it for esports news, I guess. I mean, again, cybersport.com. I don't even think they have launched officially yet. Yeah, coming soon. If you click cybersport.com, it says coming soon. By the way, Cybersport or Cybersports, whatever you want to call it, awful name. Unfortunately, these Russian speakers or the CIS region refers to esports as cybersports, so it makes sense for them to have this, and having cybersports.io already makes sense, but awful name.
Yeah.
Actually, might be better than On Gamers. I'm looking at all these names right now
there are not very good names.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, but at least they're not like Chinese names where it's literally just random numbers.
True. True. Oh, that is alright. That's a quick side note and just a rant. But when I had to research, like when I worked for Ghost of Gamers and when I had to research news, right, you just need to scour through these Chinese forums because of some sort of like random source or whatever. And then, like you said, it's just a website with random numbers.
Yeah, it's super annoying.
And they're all very similar as well, as far as I know, anyway.
Yeah, they're all very similar. Yeah. Super annoying. But I mean, there must be some kind of meme behind all of this. But it's beyond me because there are like a bunch of numbers that mean a bunch of different things in Chinese numerology. But like, it's super annoying if you're coming from the Western side.
Yes, I mean we talked about this privately, but I do think that Chinese are very creative with their memes and with their with their font, with their humor.
Yeah, that's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Next topic it is, pretty much covered esports news, so we'll head right into Dota 2 basically, and the biggest story of last week is obviously the ManilaMasters. Evil Geniuses take the tournament very convincingly, I might add. They showed us that they can still do the lower bracket thing, even though it was just technically kind of. Yeah, it was like a mild version.
I'll add a caveat to that later when we get to that match as to why I don't really count it.
All right. So yeah, I think it's best to just sort of wrap up the entire tournament just a little bit. Where is this? So it was a double elim bracket, no sort of like group stage, whatever. Which is pretty nice, honestly. You get to see pretty much every team playing a best of 3 at least twice.
Yeah, I don't really like group stages that much anyway, so.
Especially for smaller LAN events. Like if it's just like a 3-day LAN event, having a group stage feels very meaningless. But yeah, a good tournament. I'm not sure how the seeding was done. If we had Ben here, we'd probably do like a more thorough discussion about this. But I think seeding wise, I think the matchups were okay. I don't necessarily think it was super imbalanced or anything. I guess EG Faceless was kind of interesting because, and this is something that Black said as well in the interview after they won against OG. It's that they've always played against EG, OG, or I don't know. They've always played against these top tier teams in the playoffs at every LAN event so far.
And that's why they get smashed.
That's why they get smashed. I will say, obviously, it's not an excuse for playing badly, but because they've played badly at every event they've been so far.
Yeah,
but
like
it doesn't help.
I'll put it this way: like SG Esports, they got smashed. They lost to EG. They didn't get smashed. Like...
Right. Exactly. So I guess the first round in the upper bracket is not really. I guess the one upset for me personally is that Newbee won against Secret. I know we've done a little preview for this, and I think we sort of both agreed that Newbee didn't look good at all going into this, and I personally didn't have them at top 4, not even top 4.
All right, so let's put context into this. I guess like the week before this, they lost that star ladder pretty bad.
Right.
And then you have to consider, like, okay, so you're on the road. You don't really have time to practice. You don't really have time to, like, prepare, whereas Secret's been playing this entire time. So you could obviously, I understand why you would go for Secret. I think I went for Secret too. But to be fair, also, like, Newbee, excluding, like, the entire choking thing as a roster, they're one of the best rosters in the world.
Yes. Definitely, if we didn't look at the form that Newbee had been in lately, especially from Kiev Major onwards, basically, maybe even going into Kiev, but if we disregard all of that, Newbee definitely a top team for sure.
Yeah.
Probably contender for an invite at every major event, but because of that bad form leading into this event, I think it was reasonable to assume, and especially like you said, Secret had been playing online, had been performing well, and there's always that sort of. Oh, we didn't do well at the majors, so Secret needs to win a LAN tournament if they want to make it to TI directly. So for them, it almost felt like there's more at stake here rather than for Newbee. But yeah, Newbee definitely showed up. They 2-0'd OG as well. 2-0'd EG in the upper bracket finals, which if you want to talk about, feel free to. They looked very impressive up until the until the grand finals. Yeah.
I thought to myself, is this Newbee really going to turn around? Then I remembered, wait a second, round of 4, they choked all the time around the 4, but they'll also choke in the finals. So I actually had no hope. Like, I think I said something funny where basically it's like, you can, if you want to, you can like basically fill Newbee all the way to the round 4 and then drop them out. But you can do the same thing for them into the finals and then drop them out. Like. I still think this team has serious problems with pressure matches and like pressure tournaments. So that's why I wanted them to change, even though like on roster they're really, really good. But I think this is just another tournament that kind of proved my point. Like, to be fair though, EG was like really fucking good in the finals.
They were really good, but still, I definitely do think that. Oh my god, what did I do? I definitely do think that there is an issue with Newbee squad, and I looked this up for like a funny tweet, but then I couldn't really. It didn't turn out to be too funny, so I didn't tweet it. But I think the last time they've won like an international LAN is like a year ago. I have to actually check this. I will say they've won some national LANs. They've won like DPL. They've won like NESO or NESO or whatever. They've definitely won their like domestically. They've shown that they're like a team to be reckoned with. They're like top 2 at least. But internationally, like you said, they just choke. They've come in second against. They've come second now. They came in second. In Genting. They came in second. MDL versus EG as well. It is.
This team has never won international LAN unless you go all the way back to when Hal was on the lineup.
Right. Yes, I believe so.
Like that's why I was like thinking it should have been Hal or Xiao 8 coming in, but whatever. that's a different topic. But yeah, this like I said, this team has been struggling for like a year now to get over the finish line. They can get up to the finish line, but they can never cross it.
Yes, and that's where you have to worry sort of if you're Newbie, and this is also why I think both of us to some degree assumed that they either maybe should or at least could have made a roster change in this last period, because there's this sort of like last step that they can't seem to make, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this roster will ever be able to do that, because I mean, even though they stepped it up again, they've also still showed that they're not capable of keeping their composure in the grand finals. And in terms of individual skill, like you said earlier, this is a fucking good team. Newbie, individually, they're probably one of the best teams in the world on every position almost, or at least on several. SEC is a fucking god. Kaka is one of the best supports. So you gotta ask yourself, like, what's the problem, and do we really keep going after TI? And if they don't at least win another title up until TI, I don't think this roster is gonna last for too long. Like, I don't think you can I don't think you can stick with a roster for such a long time and not win a title and still keep going. Like, there's a breaking point somewhere.
Yeah, we saw this with Cloud9.
Yeah.
Right. Like, eventually something must change. Like, it doesn't matter how many second places you get, you're still not getting the one. And that's eventually going to grade on anybody. And unlike a 1v1 game, you can change players here, so.
Yeah, I guess Newbie, that's the one team, obviously, that I think was sort of a story at the event, but another team that also had a great story at the event, Faceless. You know, Faceless...
Surprised.
They got 2-0 by AG, everything sort of looked like as if everything was still the same. Then they 2-0 Clutch Gamers, and everybody thought to themselves, you know what? It's like Faceless versus C Team, sort of to be expected. We all were hoping for, or many people were hoping for Clutch Gamers, because, you know, Clutch Gamers, woohoo. But then they beat OG 2-1. That was the kicker.
They totally did. And I was totally surprised.
I will say that going into the event, I don't think anybody could have predicted that they would change roles like they did. So Black has now played mid, Jabs is onto back to support, and XY is on carry. And I've had this discussion on Twitter already with somebody. Technically, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense in hindsight, because Jabs has played support before, and it's actually how he got recognized in the first place, because he was a strong support. XY used to play core and carry, and Black, in a sense, has played a lot of mid before, because a lot of the mid heroes he plays, like OD, Shadow Fiend, Invoker, and apparently he can
Naga.
Naga. Apparently he can play anti-mage mid as well. It's no big deal. So
I mean, you can play anti-mage anywhere. That's like his entire like shtick.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think? Why did they win versus OG? Why did they double their best of 3 LAN record? They only won 4 best of 3s on LAN, by the way.
I'm not surprised. Why did they win? That's a very, like, yeah, you can point out to the rule changes, but that shouldn't have been enough to beat OG, at least on paper. Right? Because I feel like the differential between Faceless and OG was large enough that, like, if you somehow like shifted all the positions to the correct positions as they did here, it still shouldn't have been enough. So you have to question I'd have to question exactly how they were changing their map movements, because I feel like because it's not like they did the VP thing where like VP you take over the early game and then you kind of snowball it. They didn't really do that, Faceless. So it's like I feel like there's what the shift did is like maybe it stabilized the early game, and then it allowed like Ice not to have to like carry 4 dead people. Instead, like it's an actual team. Like that's my current working theory, because I feel like Ice was like what pulled them over the edge at the very end, and so that's my. I mean, do you have a better idea of what happened here?
I mean, obviously, again, we're all just speculating at this point, obviously. But one of the big things I think helped the team is Jabs. Initially, when he played mid, he came onto the team as both drafter and captain, and I guess on a triple position then shot caller as well, because captain, isn't always the shot caller. I think moving to the support position allows you to just shot call much better. If you're a core, especially a mid laner, you need to keep a track of so many other things, such as how to control the tempo of the lane, how to control the tempo of the game in general, and just your own farm. There's so many micro things that you need to take care of that you maybe make the wrong decisions in terms of how the team should play in general, like what the best decision for the team is, rather than what maybe might be the best decision for yourself.
Yeah, it's true. The decisions have been a lot better.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the big things, and I mean, I guess from there on out, they just made better decisions in the mid game. Like you said, they're not really the team that necessarily snowballs as heavily as VP does in the early game, but Faceless has always played off of a really strong laning stage, and then in SEA usually that was just enough to just secure them the win most of the times, at least in the beginning stages of their run in SEA. But internationally, especially, it has shown that even despite a good laning stage, they would still suffer in the mid game because of uncoordinated movement, bad decision making when it comes to taking objectives or not taking objectives, and it seemed so. It's easy to say everything just seemed to work, but that's just what it is. That's just what it was. It just always seemed to click. It just always seemed like Faces knew as a team what they wanted to do in every minute of a game, almost. And if they lost or if they fell behind, it wasn't necessarily because of a bad decision, but it almost always felt like, the other team was just that much better. Whereas usually, Faces was just a bad team that just didn't do the right thing.
Yeah.
So maybe it is just that shift. Maybe it might just be that one position. Maybe it is Winter stepping up his coaching game, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they've done some sort of like teamwork exercise, or I don't know. But it's almost... I'm trying to think of another example, at least in Dota, where a team has stayed together for this long, had like such a big slump or such a big problem as Faces has had up until now, and recovered like this. I guess it's just one tournament, so for all we know, this might not stay for a while, but,
I mean, the only other example I can think of, if you're talking about only Dota 2, probably Wings.
Right. If you consider the middle or major.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then I guess the only Ad Fitnum doesn't really work because I feel like they've been steadily going up anyway. MVP doesn't really work. Basically I feel like the only team that stuck out through a huge slump was Wings.
And even their slump wasn't that huge. It was technically just a tournament,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I hope the Faces keep going. We've had this discussion a lot already. That
I should leave.
Well, that not necessarily even that, but also the fact that Faceless sort of keeping their region from, or weighing them down a little bit by winning every qualifier and then not doing well on LAN. So in that sense, I hope that they can keep going, but I'm not even sure if they're gonna play another LAN up until TI, because that's just Clutch Gamers taking away all the LAN spots.
Yeah, Clutch Gamers.
All right. Other notable teams to talk about. NP at this event. NP fucking stepped up.
You see, I made the super critical mistake of thinking to myself, okay, this team is over, after I saw Envy fall out of his chair. What I should have been realizing was, oh my god, Eternal Envy has gone full clown. This must mean the artists are back. They are coming back to take their rightful place at second place, or almost second place, and this was was it when LD was casting, he kept calling this team Cloud9, and that's kind of rude, but I totally understand where he was coming from, because this is basically Cloud9 reborn without Bone 7.
And no offense to Bone 7, but that makes them almost better.
Better? It makes them better? Yeah, it does make them better.
And they still sort of have the Bone 7 element, obviously, with him being their coach.
Yeah, so, they get his weird mind, his weird drafts that has crazy inconsistent performances
and understanding of the opponent's team. So Bone 7 definitely has a good understanding of how other teams play as well. So
right. So I feel the three players I was looking at, because I feel like Pilot, Die, and MSS, they'll do the jobs and they do it pretty well.
Yeah.
So the question was always, how's Eternal Envy? Eternal Envy was pretty good. I felt it was just pretty. I don't think he's generally that inconsistent as much as we talk about all the 50-50s he does on stream, right? But I generally in tournament he's not generally not that inconsistent. He's always a pretty good player. I feel like Fada has been like, he's returned, and I've come to the theory that it's actually, for whatever reason, Fada's best play has always been under Eternal Envy.
That
Like,
might
I feel like
be true.
he was good on Liquid, but he wasn't like the primary focus. He was good on Bears, but he wasn't like a superstar. On this team, he's like a superstar level player.
You could argue that maybe he was better on mouse no mouse sports back then. You know, with with Quarkwa and Black, maybe. But
that was like a long time.
It was a long time ago. It was also different kind of times back then. The competition wasn't as fierce, but I definitely agree that I think whenever he's played with Envy, he has established, like during the time with Cloud9, I think he's definitely established himself as pretty much the most, or one of the best mid laners in the world.
Yeah. I'm not actually sure this is an Eternal Envy thing, but like, I will say this: like, one of the reasons I consider like Eternal Envy a good captain is because he somehow made Sing Sing work. Like, that's fucked up thing to say, but it's true. Like, Sing Sing has perpetually failed like every other lineup, unless he was with, except for the period where he was with Eternal Envy. And like, and you see the Eternal Envy interviews. Basically, it's like, yeah, Sing Sing is very limited, so we have to like play around him and make sure he gets at least one of his like heroes.
Right.
So I feel like Eternal Envy, maybe he's like the mid whisperer or something. Like, he gets these like, he levels up like these mids who have like very specific styles or something. Maybe that's what's happening here. I'm not exactly sure. And I think the last guy you have to look at is AUI 2000. Because I feel like going into this tournament, like I assumed like he was going to play like that greedy 4 position into a core. Because that was famously his style. But in this tournament, he played not exactly modern, but he played a very different style where he had like very specific picks. Like, I don't feel like he has like the modern meta picks, but he has picks that work for him, like Enchantress, Nyx. Let's see, what else was he using? He was using a bunch of like, he tried to force Visage a few times. Like, he had like these odd, like very specific things that he could use, but were kind of problems for the other team. So I feel like he's still AUI in that sense. He's just not farming as much.
Yeah, and that is actually, I was one of the, I think, biggest critics when AUI announced that, or when it was announced that AUI would resume the support position again. I was questioning whether or not he would actually be able to fit that position anymore, because last time he tried that, it was with DC, and yes, I know it has been pointed out to me that DC was a trash team at the time, and he played with, like, I don't even know, Yawar and all that kind of, Boba. No offense, Boba. So DC at the time probably would have been shit anyway. You could have probably stuck Sumail in there and they would still sucked. But still, I was very critical, and it was very questionable whether or not he would be able to resume that 4th position. But like you said, I think what makes me impressed the most is the fact that he can push his own heroes, push his own playstyle into this lineup, or that they allow it to be successful, and that they don't try to put him into, oh, you know what, everybody's currently picking hero A or hero B. Let's just go with this.
This is actually a very Eternal Envy thing to do.
Yeah.
In terms of what he wants from his team identity and what he wants as a leader, like he definitely wants like a theory crafter kind of guy, and he'll let them do whatever they think is best as long as they can prove it to him, whether that's like through theory crafting or through scrims or whatever. So yeah, I mean.
And I think you can, if you look at the drafts from NP as well, I think you could argue that NP actually set the meta for the event. NP and possibly Newbee. If you look at the way that NP has been drafting, all these heroes, or a lot of these heroes, ended up being most picked at the event. Obviously, it helps that NP themselves made it into like top 3.
Made it pretty far.
Right, but still, a lot of other teams started picking these heroes as well, or a lot of teams did pick these heroes as well. So it's almost as if, NP sort of set the meta a little bit. Definitely with their own unique playstyle and own approach at the meta. And I think this is, like, I mean, we've pointed out numerous times, but this might just be the biggest strength of any Eternal Envy squad, the fact that they have these creative ideas, the way that they're able to approach the meta. I very distinctively remember the Necrophos with double Ring of Protection going into the lane. In theory, it just sounds like, it sounds really stupid, but it made so much sense. You can transition it, like, you can build it into a new item. It solves his armor problems, and it just makes him unkillable with a Wisp as well.
Like I said, full clown into full genius. You never know.
Exactly.
You never know. All right. I will say this team ended exactly how you would think an old C9 team would go.
Yeah.
So they meet EG in the losers finals. They smash game 1. They get into this epic game 2 where I don't think they should have ever had a chance. I feel like the draft should have heavily favored EG, but then I think the early game even favored EG too, but somehow NP like pulled it out and almost won before like Sumeo finally got it together at the very end. It took him 70 minutes, but he got there, right? And then game 3 ended in like a typical Cloud9 fashion, like let's draft Greedy and then die, and then they drafted Greedy and then died.
You know, when I saw that Luna pick, it reminded me of TI4 when Cloud9... was it TI4? Yeah, it was TI4.
Yeah.
When Cloud9 attempted a level 1 Roshan with a Luna in front of a crowd versus a Chinese team. It was like...
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I think was it Hotbit had this funny tweet like, why is NP drafting 5 offlaners?
Oh, that's actually a good point. But yeah, like you said, or like everybody's been really saying, like this team looks a lot like Cloud9 for the right reasons as well. And I think as a team, especially like NP right now, I think you definitely want to be in a position where you can get like compete for at least for the first place. Like if you gave Envy the option like 2 months ago, hey, you want to play second place at every LAN event again? He probably would have at least considered it. You know, it's like, hey, you know, I would probably want to get there at that point, at some point.
Yeah.
Team looks pretty strong.
The team has returned, and this is also why I didn't really consider like this a classical EG sort of lower bracket run, because I felt like NP kind of like choked themselves out in the third game before like the game even started. Yeah. So it was like it's not really an EG like, oh, we've grinded our ways back, we're super clutch kind of lower bracket run. So it was a bit different from that.
And also the fact that I think the only way they win that second game is literally with the move that Sumail made. I don't think that they could have turned that fight, or they could have won that fight any other way. I think they literally needed him to 5-man, 4-man, 5-man, I think.
It was 5-man.
Yeah, 5-man.
Like 5-man.
Yeah, the 5-man poll basically. So I don't know. Sumail, just a beast. I think my personal MVP of the event again. Similar to Kiev, actually. Even though they didn't make it to the finals, I do think that Sumail was a standout performer at that event. And that is something... The fact that they, as a star team, can rely on one player to still be this clutch and be this standout is goddamn impressive at this level. Like,
I feel like PPD was right again. Or not really right, but basically, like, I think like previously before this event and before Kiev, there was a question of who you like focus the team around, whether it's Arteezy or Sumail, and then they tried Arteezy and it wasn't really quite working, and then eventually like when it got to like crunch time, Crit was like, okay, what's like the PPD? He didn't say this, so I was like, I imagine this one is like, what is the PPD strat here? And I was like, oh, get Sumail as hero, get Universe as hero, and then let's roll. And like feel like this is basically how the team should run still, even though they have Arteezy in the team. They should still run it that way.
I mean, exactly. This is and this is what made the old EG work, right? They focused on Sumail. They focused on making sure that they're two, like I say 2 cores even though they have a third. Like they focus on Sumail and Universe having a good landing stage and making sure they carry them through the game, and then they almost sacrifice their carry because they know that they can always come back with a carry. That's why Fear was so prominent on that Sven. You know, it's just like, oh, I don't have a good lane. Well, fuck you guys. I'll just farm 2 stacks and I'll be back in the game.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like Fear had a more varied like map pool, play style and like hero pool compared to Arteezy. Even though I think Arteezy is a much better player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could tell by the fact that they still keep picking Arteezy Razor.
They basically want him to protect. Roleplay is Fear. It's like, what?
It's still a good pick though. Razor's also one of the that's just too much meta, but yeah, it's also one of the strongest picks in the meta right now.
Yeah.
All right. Any other team worth talking about? I guess we could talk about OG. They dropped out pretty early.
Yeah. I'm not too worried, because I feel like this is just a new patch, and like they basically just got off their win at the major. So I mean, I feel like this team will grind back up for TI, because I feel like TI is the one that again, we can say OG's basically been the best team for this year and last year. Like, or if you want, you can combine the 2 years. I don't really do that for different lineups, but you can do that if you want. But the thing is, like, they've always been missing that TI, so I feel like TI is their Mount Everest. And I feel like this isn't a team that's gonna like slow down. So for now, for the tournaments like leading up to TI, they're probably going to be using them as like testing grounds to like adapt and to learn how to play these new patches coming up, and then that'll decide their fate, I guess.
I will also...
Or maybe Ice Frog pulls out another patch before the TI. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Ice Frog does.
it's very likely. There will very likely will be at least like a bigger patch again. I think it's just I don't know.
It just is.
Yeah, and I think traditionally, I mean, again, if we had Ben here, we'd probably have a stat for that. But I think traditionally speaking, we've always had like a bigger patch like 2 months prior to TI. So we'll probably see something. I will say for OG that even though they did drop out early, they lost against Newbee, who I think surprised everyone a little bit and were really strong. They immediately knew how to play this meta right now, which was really weird to some degree. And then Faceless, who also again caught everybody off guard with this role position swap and the way they play now. And OG didn't have their coach with them at this event. So there was nobody that could have technically, I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't prepare for Faceless, but maybe their preparation wasn't as thorough as it could have been with fucking Matt there.
Okay.
All right. I guess that is it for this event. Maybe a word or two about Clutch Gamers or IG.
Clutch Gamers is still pretty new. There's nothing else we can really say about that. IG, I still think they're like adapting to, because this is like they haven't really had time to practice actually. Because before this they had Star Ladder, and then after this they'll have Epicenter.
Right.
So they're basically like running on a bunch of different lands, and well, I'm not sold that they're dead yet, or even close to dead. But I'm not really sold that they'll like be dominant yet either. I feel like they're in a similar like boat to OG, where they're still trying to figure things out for this new patch, because they were even more stylistic than OG was. Like OG, they had a style, but they also had like a more varied wide map pool. Hero pool to play into that style. Whereas IG had very specific picks, so I think it'll be harder for IG to adapt than OG. So we're going to there. I actually think like basically what these tournaments have kind of like proven to me, like even though like IG is losing, Burning is still a really good player. So I feel like Burning should be like their focus. Actually, it's kind of weird.
That's the thing, because I mean we've both made this analogy quite a lot of times, right? But that IG is like the kind of team that sort of similar to EG focuses more on their mid and off lane and have a very sacrificial safe lane.
One,
right?
Yeah.
So maybe I definitely think
it'll depend on OP. Actually, I feel like OP hasn't been stepping up.
Yeah.
So but OP hasn't exactly had time to like prep or like build a hero pool. Its team hasn't really. So if I had to choose between two styles, I'd rather they play around OP and XXS, because I feel like Burning has way more variety compared to OP, so it feels more stable that way.
I will say that for IG, that if you look at, like you said, they've been basically perfecting this whole playstyle or in their hero pools since February almost, or maybe even earlier. And then suddenly everybody starts doing it as well, because they won the AC, obviously, and everybody is just picking up their heroes and their playstyle. And naturally, Icework had to nerf it. So literally every hero that they played got nerfed. Magnus, I don't know, I'm blanking out right now. Magnus.
But a bunch of them.
That's just it. But a bunch of them.
Monkey
right?
King.
Right, Monkey, yeah, of course. Monkey King, Earth Spirit, all of these heroes got nerfed, and I think it's just... Ricky, yeah. I think, like you just said, IG just need to find themselves again. They probably need to, run a little hot first before they can pick up some steam.
Yeah. I mean, when is TI coming up? It was like July, or is it August?
It's August, but qualifiers are already this month, or in June, end of June. So technically invites will go out probably June 20th. 20th.
No, IG should be fine for getting an invite. That's not a problem.
They're top 4. They're top 4 at Kiev, so it's very likely that they will receive an invite. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, what they need to do, what they should try to do, I guess, if you really want to be sneaky about it, is what you need to do is you need to like play on the down low for a bit, and then while you're building up your style, and then go into TI. But I feel like that's kind of dangerous because, like I said, there's a big patch for TI, so we'll see. We'll see
We'll
what they
see.
do.
Yeah. But as we've been talking about all these teams, I think it might just be worth skipping a top or like doing another topic first before we get to the next one, and this would be Epicenter. Since a lot of the teams that just played at the ManilaMasters also will be at Epicenter, and Epicenter will take place this Sunday. They will start this Sunday.
Yep.
Very surprising start date actually, but apparently they're gonna run like a 3-day, 4-day group stage, and then
Yeah.
3-day group stage or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, Epicenter again, pretty much the same teams. OG, EG, we talked about those already. IG, Clutch Gamers, but then the new teams basically, and this is where I think Epicenter will. Like, this is why everybody's looking forward to Epicenter, because this is pretty much just the best teams in the world right now. You have VP, you have Liquid.
Like 5 of the 6. I think the only one missing is Newbee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're missing Newbee, but then you also, if you could probably argue that technically the way that NP has been playing so far, they would be like a top 8, top 10 team, whatever.
No, they'd be like a second place team. Like, the return.
Then you have Thunderbirds, which obviously are also a good team, and well, I guess we don't really know how to place them right now. Navi, who's been very strong lately, and then Secret, and then sort of almost disappointingly LFY.
Yeah, I feel like LFI is obviously like a throwaway here. I mean, it's another youth team, so it's another youth team, so this is probably just going to be another building tournament for them.
All right, no. I need to. So, LFY
right.
have Inflame. I thoroughly believe that no team with Inflame can make any impact right now in the foreseeable future. Inflame. I was very surprised when I saw that they qualified, because Inflame is like, I don't even know if there's any player comparable to Inflame. I don't know CS:GO or any other esport too well to really compare him to anybody else, but Inflame, one of the most talented players at the time, maybe like 4 years ago, right? And people were like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be the next Ferrari 430." This is how long he has been a talent. When people still said Ferrari 430, and then LGD invested in him. They built numerous teams around him, and he's still been with the organization for all these years. But none of the teams that he's played with have ever qualified for an international LAN event up until now. And I would argue this was without having watched the entire run, I would argue it was not because of him. I will say that in terms of individual skill, he has proven himself to be a very strong player, but also a big choker. Like in clutch moments, he'll just pull like an Envy times 10.
Yeah. All right. So let me think I can think of a guy that's like this. Someone who has a lot of skill, has never lived up to the skill. In fact, has actually bombed everything.
Yes.
Let's see. No, not even Shroud is like that, because he has proven himself a few times. All right, I got a guy, the Muslim from StarCraft 2, because there was this he was like running. Okay, basically there's like this crazy hype train around him from 2011 to 2012, where like the EG players and like a bunch of players in the community are like, "Oh man, this guy, he's gonna be the best. He's gonna be a championship contender." He never really was. He was kind of shit. And then famously, I hope nobody in StarCraft 2 is watching this, but basically I think I wrote a long piece where I basically said something like he's playing against Suppy, his teammate, and I'll bet Suppy is going to 6-pull him and eliminate him from WCS North America. And they got super pissed or something, but then that's exactly what happened. Like, this guy, he became super predictable and super stale, and then like he basically just became a streamer, and there's nothing really good you can say about his career, despite the fact that he did have like some talent and some mechanics, and like he was like one of the better Terran players in foreigner Terran players, I guess, in the Broodlord Infestor era. But I mean, like, he never really amounted to much anything, so I guess that's pretty close. Except I think Inflame actually, like, he's still playing as a player, whereas I think the Muslim went full streamer basically.
Right. No, Inflame definitely has been playing for a while now with like numerous squads like CDC, CDCY, all those like smaller teams. I will have to say I apologize. He did qualify for a LAN event, although I'm not sure if they got they got they qualified. LV Gaming, which is like the predecessor tool for eHome, I believe. Or was it the predecessor to VGJ? No, LV Gaming. So yeah, LV Gaming back then with ZYF, and also I think at the time they played at Dota League. I think it was together with Mushi. Was it Mushi in Ohio? Was it that squad?
Yeah, I think that was what it was.
Either way, yes, Mushi in Ohio. Yeah, either way, they did qualify for that. But ever since, this guy has not been able to do or achieve a lot outside of China. So I will be very keen on, I will definitely follow all of his games, that's for sure, because again, he has the talent. He's shown that he has the talent, but he's also shown that he's a big choker.
I will say that I'd rather have NP over Navi at this event, but there is one thing I want to see from Navi, and that's Seneko. Or Seneko, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, because this guy was... I felt like he should have been one of the best like support players in the world, and he basically carried Navi in like one of their TI runs. Like he was carrying like 4 dead bodies. He was playing 1v9, and he almost like got them out or something. I forget exactly what it was, but he almost won a few games by himself. So I feel like with Seneko back, they might have a chance. So that's what I want to watch. Like, is there any other player from there? What the hell is Pycat's in here?
Yeah, Pycat's the carry and captain. I will say that the squad just on paper doesn't excite me too much, just because I think I don't know, just don't expect too much from them. But like you said, I do think that there's a lot of potential, especially for Seneko. I also personally would have preferred NP, just because I think NP has shown that they're like a team that can compete with the best right now. But
I mean, we didn't know that before Epicenter.
Right, of course.
But it was also a public vote, so it's not like they were ever really going to make it.
Right. But maybe they can upset us. Who knows? They've had a lot of time now to observe all the other teams. Maybe they'll prepared something. Liquid, I think, is an exciting team to look forward to. Although I don't like getting my hopes up for Liquid. The past few times they've disappointed me quite a bit. DAC,
it's like their CSGO squad. Actually, they're starting to look like a CSGO squad. I thought this was supposed to be the good team.
Yeah.
But unlike the other team, this team actually does win even the smaller events. At least the smaller events. I feel like Team Liquid, I wrote a preview before this. Basically, is like Epicenter is gonna be basically like the tournament of champions.
Right.
Because we have 5 of the champions here: OG, EG, VP, Team Liquid, IG. But I feel like Team Liquid is like the least of the 5. Like I feel like their championships have become at like smaller events where like the top competition wasn't there.
Right. So
for them, this is kind of like a proving grounds, especially because I feel like their star ladder showed some promise, but unlike, so they showed some promise in terms of like their play style. So I feel this is a good place to prove it against the best teams.
I agree, and this is where I'm not sure if you followed the discussion, but there was a bit of a discussion on Twitter between a few statsmen regarding whether or not the starter was sufficient for a direct invite for Liquid. Whether
not really,
yeah,
no.
I don't think so either. I guess that argument also depends on how many invites. Yeah, how many invites do you think there are? But either way, Liquid definitely need to prove that they can at least place well against these top teams. I think they still owe us that proof, basically. Like you said, the LAN tournaments that they did win were not against the top tier competition, and this is where they still need to show us that they can do it. And speaking of teams that need to show that, Thunderbirds and Secret both have big ambitions. Secret especially, I think after that Kiev major group stage, I think they should feel very frustrated. Well, I personally would feel very frustrated if you play a group stage like that and then you just fail to keep showing this since. Like they haven't really shown up since. They've done very well online, but they once again fell in ManilaMasters, and this is their second to last shot, I think. I'm not sure.
I feel like they're pretty close to death, actually, and because basically like you can only like do well for online for so long, and that's basically what Secret's like entire career has been this year, is basically just doing well online.
Right.
But like the last two losses must hurt even more because one of them was against Brazil, and the other one was like, okay, well, what loss could possibly be worse? And it ended up being against Eternal Envy. So that makes it, that might make it sting a little bit more, the 10% more maybe. And then I feel like Thunderbirds, this team is wildly inconsistent. So I'm not really like I feel like this is the best roster they can make right now because they decided not to switch up for whatever reason. So it's like too late basically for them to change anything. So for Thunderbirds, like they could easily bomb out, or they could probably get like top 4. Is the range I'm giving them.
Look, no, this is not criticism or anything, but I think this is pretty much what we said going into Kiev as well. And
yeah, they're very,
and that's just they're not a team, and this is weird, but they're not a team that has really proven anything. This is coming off of, they did win ESL 1 Genting, and they did play second at TI, but they've played so few events, and the events that they did play, they either won or they just bombed out early. So it feels very difficult to appropriately judge where Thunderbirds is or isn't. But I agree with you with your assessment. I definitely think they have potential for like something like top 4, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they just place last.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like the Alliance Reunion where they won at one tournament and they bombed everything else. It's kind of similar to that, except this is a higher ceiling.
Yeah. So I guess that's really the preview. I guess we could go into certain matchups, but quite frankly, it's like a round robin, and I think it's just best of 1 or best of 2. So I don't really care about those. Yeah,
I feel like it's pretty obvious who gets out of every group.
Yeah,
or who should theoretically get out. Like there's a clear top 3 in both, so we'll see.
I like that Liquipedia already has it ordered in that way. If you look at the groups, it's not alphabetically. It's just like, I think these are gonna play second, first. No, all right.
First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Like yeah. Maybe the Liquipedia guys are like, man, I hope I don't have to update this. Just leave it as is.
Basically. All right, that is this topic. Let me quickly. We have one more in Dota 2, which is a smaller topic. The whole Zotac Cup and DreamLeague sort of like. I wouldn't call it a drama, mostly because it's just basic business decisions. Yeah.
And should have been banned. Should have left. Like.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of. So NP drops out of DreamLeague season, gets banned for a year, replaced by SG Esports. NP got banned because this is like the second time they've pulled out in a row.
Done it.
And it's a bit of a shame because then also, DC pulled out because they replaced Freedom in Zotac Cup, and Freedom now has to replace them here. So this is like a total of 4 teams already withdrawing from DreamLeague this season. Last season was 6 teams. I wonder if this is actually going to stay this way, or if another team just decides to call it quits midway. Bit of a shame, but still, DreamLeague's a good tournament.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you expect from Dota 2 teams, I guess. Like,
unfortunately,
that's kind of how it goes. There's not really much they can do about it. So I mean, that's life.
That's
in Dota land.
That's life in Dota. Oh, well, that's a perfect segue. Honestly, let's just leave Dota at that, and we'll move on to CS:GO. Life in Dota land. The first one is a topic I guess we could have technically talked about this last week, but I chose to do it this week, and it's Shroud's potential retirement.
All right.
Just to provide some context, so Shroud has announced or not really announced on stream. He just responded to like a question that he can imagine himself probably retiring sometime soon, maybe like in a year, maybe 2, who knows.
I heard that.
But unfortunately this sparked like a huge wave,
Entire
entire
hate.
wave of comments from Reddit and like every other pro player that streams is now being asked, what do you think of Shroud's retirement? Or what do you think, not even of his retirement, but the fact that he announced it. What do you think, Steven?
All right. Well, first off, I thought Shroud should have been replaced already for Cloud9, regardless of whether he wanted to retire or not.
Right.
It was either him or nothing or Skadoodle, and I feel like Skadoodle at least has like the pedigree of the option. So I always felt like it was between Shroud and nothing. And at first I was pretty annoyed. Like, okay, so basically this guy's like retiring, so you basically need to kick him off now because there's no way you're gonna build a future with this guy. But to be fair to Shroud, like I think Thorne basically pointed this out in an article he wrote. Shroud has never been that guy who's like been all in. CS:GO, he's just basically been a professional. He's done his job. He shows up to his scrims. He does like the requisite amount of hours, and then he does whatever he wants. And he's done pretty decently overall. Like so in that sense, it's like not really it shouldn't be an issue performance-wise for the Cloud9 guys. Because I feel like in terms of performance, I feel like nothing is still worse than Shroud. So if you're going to replace somebody, it'd probably be nothing still. But basically, like the parallel I draw here is Fnatic at the end of 2015 when they had the greatest of all time roster: Olaf Meister, Crims, JW, Flusha, Pronax, and then Pronax was their leader, but Pronax had like the wrist injuries or whatever, and then he also had like a complete lack of motivation during the time. Right. And they only got a top 8, and then when they got a top 8, it was like a pretty close one too. Like they went up to it was like, are you in or are you out? Like they just straight up said, are you in or are you out? I was like, do you want to go all in? And he said, no, I don't want to go all in. I'm probably going to end my contract this year. And like, okay, get the fuck out, basically.
Right.
They told him to get the fuck out, and they bring in Dennis, and they won like 6 events in a row. Right, and then that's kind of like that's kind of like the cutthroat mentality I want to see, because yeah, Shroud isn't performing badly because it has nothing to do with his mental like state. It's more like he was always just around this good. But if like Stewie and Automatic, because I feel like those guys are basically like running this fucking org now, or at least for the CS:GO division.
Right.
If they really want to like be the best, they have to cut this guy, and they probably have to cut nothing too, and they need to bring in like 2 other guys, because Shroud obviously isn't going to be a key component in your team, because it's not like he's really all in anyway, and he wasn't like lining up the scoreboards. He's like a supportive type player, but he wasn't that great of one. And then nothing like, maybe he wants in, but like his like skill isn't there. So, but like they've had multiple chances to like change this roster and they haven't. So I don't see them changing it now either.
Yeah, that's pretty much also how I feel. Again, I also read Thorin's article, obviously, and I think he outlined it pretty well. Like you said, I mean, he's never really been that all in kind of guy, and I mean, what he can give them now is pretty much what he's been giving so far, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it would feel weird if they suddenly decided, oh, you know, we don't feel the commitment anymore, so we need to get rid of you. Like if they did that, it'd feel very out of place.
Yeah.
And that's why I also think that all the attention towards this topic is I mean, I say that even though we're talking about it, but I think a lot of the attention that people have been giving this topic and a lot of the fuss that people have been making is so much overblown.
I mean, here's a funny statistic, I guess. I think the CS:GO subreddit, like they have like those I forget what they're called, the icons for their teams.
Right.
They support
the flares.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 has by far the most, so that's why it became big.
All right, that makes sense. I actually, you know, not to shit on global offensive or anything, but I read a bunch of comments under, I want to say Sean Garris's comments regarding this whole topic, and everyone was like, oh, you know what, Sean Garris made a good point. How would the teammates feel about this? You know, like, and I think to myself, you really need Sean Garris to point this out to you, that the teammates could be affected by this, and that kind of made me realize what kind of,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But I still felt it wasn't necessary to talk about this because Shroud is a very, I guess I wouldn't call him polarizing, but he's a very popular figure in the CS:GO scene. And Cloud9 technically is one of the better NA teams.
Yeah.
Not that that's too difficult these days.
Mm-hmm.
What's the last topic? There was another topic. Oh, right, Tricked. Tricked part ways with their CSGO team.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
So, all right. So basically, remember we talked about like NIP dying last week?
Yes.
They're still dying to this day. Timur. Basically, this is like NIP's dying. Godsent is dying. Epsilon has the players they want. On top of that, Heroic is kicking out Valde. On top of that, Tricked has basically imploded. So basically, what's happening is like, I'm not sure which one of these factors caused it, but it's created like this entire. Actually, no, I do know is that it's Murr killing Nip, but basically it's created like fucking landslide of a chain of events in like the tier two of like the Swedish scene, and then collapsed into the Danish scene. Because basically what happened was I'm not exactly sure which one of them thought of this, but somebody at some point thought, you know what, Marty was right. Danish Swedish shuffle, it's not bad. It's not a bad idea. And so everybody collapsed. Everybody collapsed, and now there's this gigantic shuffle where nobody knows what's going to happen next. Because like Heroic is like Valde, like I think Decay wrote a piece basically saying North is seriously looking at Valde as a replacement for one of their players.
Right.
And then you have like all these other teams in the shuffle. But with Tricked now getting eliminated, I feel like the piece you want from Tricked the most is probably Hunden. Because I feel like he's the best leader they have in that area, in that level of team. And there's enough talent between all of these like broken up teams that you could like cover for his lack of skill. So I think that's like that. I think on a theoretical level, that's where they should go, but whether or not that's how they will go is a different question.
Do you think, though, that... But I guess... So my question, though, is then... And I mean... Why part way with the entire team, though? Why not rebuild? You know?
You mean Tricked?
Yeah. It's like... I don't know. I mean...
Okay. Basically, Tricked is they have venture money, but but they look at it very differently from the other guys, right? Basically, like Refresh, ESF, like they're like our Phase, Optic. These guys are all overpaying, and they all know it. Like I think the Phase owner did an interview with Thorn where he basically said like the return on investment isn't really like winning 2 or 3 majors in a row for CSGO. The return on investment on that isn't as much as just having an LCS spot.
How? In
League of Legends, because of like the number of fucking like I'm not exactly sure why, but it's basically that's those are the numbers he stated, and basically you should trust. I feel like you should probably trust the numbers because Call of Duty's like has the esports scene has maximized how to monetize people. Right. So if that's the case, then basically Tricked is like the opposite of that, where like Hyundai basically said, Tricked, yeah, they have the money, but unlike these guys, they want to pay what they think is market value for a bunch of these players. And since they had a good relationship with like these players, they just let them go basically.
Oh, all right.
So I feel like that's like they didn't want to do like the Epsilon thing. Pay me $200,000 for Res, and they're like, "What is this madness?"
All right. So I guess we will probably in the next coming weeks see the result of this whole Danish-Swedish kerfuffle, or shuffle, I guess. I guess that's pretty much it. Is there any other things CSGO related? I don't know. Not really happened last week, did there? I'm missing something.
Not really. I think there's ESL Pro League this week, but that's about it.
I guess. Operation Hydra, although that's not really esports, it's more. I will say regarding Operation Hydra, I feel like it's the way I look at it is like, hey, at CS:GO, like at Valve, they finally realized, you know, we can also, like, we're a shooter game. We don't need to just have like one mode. We can actually have multiple modes.
Yeah, they realized it after playing Overwatch for a few hours.
Yeah, basically. It's just one of the things that sort of like stuck out to me. Like, oh,
Mhm.
we're selling it as an operation, even though every goddamn other FPS has it default.
Okay. Well, I guess for PS Pro League, the only thing you need to watch out for is Coldzera and Fur will literally destroy everybody. That's my prediction. They are the two best players at this event. Like I feel like maybe Kenny S could match them, but Kenny S alone can't. He might be able to get Fur, but Coldzera will get him, or he might be able to get Coldzera, but Fur will get him, like something like that. Like this team is SK is ridiculous right now. They should like stomp the shit out of this event. That's my prediction.
Oh, we can talk more about ESL Pro League if you want to. Let me just quickly. Well, they've been going on already, haven't they?
Yeah, it's already started, but basically SK will literally destroy everybody. That's as SK, and then I don't really care. So that's Brazil, baby. Brazil is back, and Brazil is hungry for revenge. But I'm not sure revenge against who because they already kicked out FNX. So yeah.
I find it really difficult to keep up with a lot of CS:GO content these days because it's on YouTube. It's just
Super annoying.
It's very annoying.
You should use the stream link.
I know, but it's like it's just very difficult for me anyway. I guess we'll talk more about EPL then when it's concluded.
Yeah, that's fine. Anything else? The minors are starting.
Right, the minors.
Yeah, Asia's first. We could talk about that after it's concluded, but let's see. I think Asia will be the first one, and I'll tell you the team you should, if you're awake during that time, the team you want to look out for is Flash Gaming, because I feel like that's basically the team started by Karsa, who is the best. Who is actually not the best, but he's the only leader in the fucking entire region apparently. He's like the only in-game leader in the entire region. So he's like, if there's any team that will come out from China and actually do well internationally, it's him. And then from Tai Lu, the guy you want to watch is BNTET, because apparently he's like the best player in the region. So
wow, all right.
Those are the two guys. And that's about it. I'm not exactly sure what else will happen beyond that.
Are these like two Thai teams?
Yeah, there's I think so.
Oh, damn. All right. I guess this is something worth looking forward to. I totally didn't have this on my radar that minors were already beginning. The next weeks are going to be crazy. So many LAN events.
Yeah, and Overwatch finally got their first one in a long time, or the West got it.
The Overwatch
Takeover.
No, right,
Takeover.
Takeover. Right.
With a take.
I was actually considering going there. It's not too far away from me.
Yeah, you just get drunk and watch Overwatch. It's not a bad deal, I think.
Unfortunately, it is on a weekend where I can't drive out. But it's also Overwatch. I don't know. I find it really difficult to watch, or I find it difficult to motivate myself to watch Overwatch because I think it's just a very awkward viewing experience.
I think the only people that kind of get it are like Apex guys. But it feels like if you want to watch Overwatch, you have to put some time into it.
Yeah, probably. Misfits is traveling without a coach.
That's
pretty interesting. The only team that's traveling without a coach.
The Overwatch team?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know how good their coaches are. I don't even know how good most of these teams are beyond what people tell me because I don't watch online games, and famously that's all they've been playing for like years now. It feels like. So it should be a good event, at least for those guys. All right.
I think we're running out of topic. And why is the Overwatch Wikipedia pink? That is awful.
I don't know, man.
That is awful.
It's weird.
All right. I think we can wrap this one up. Even though, oh my god, we've only talked for an hour. That's like a record. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was us again this week. Hopefully we'll be back next week. I definitely don't think there should be anything. Yeah, we should be back next week. Hopefully we'll be joined by somebody else. Pal, Ben, Gareth, who knows. Maybe we'll bring in somebody else even.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, even though I've never really been able to get another guest on the show. Maybe at some point. When we'll be big enough, like in 10 years or so. Follow us on Twitter. Me at Skin Gaming, him at Suchi Writer. Follow Pow sometimes as well. Actually, no. Don't follow him now because he wasn't here. He doesn't deserve these follows. Subscribe and check our content on Dotabuff or on Slingshot.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. See you next week.